I think it's working. Come on,
It says
dance
live.
monkey.
I
It
see
says
live.
live. I see people talking in the chat. Although I don't know how that works. Welcome everybody to the Canadian Real Estate Show Vacation Edition.
Live
I'm
from somewhere different than
luckily,
what we're used to.
yeah, luckily not in a Airbnb anywhere because that's a mess, isn't it, TK? I feel
Well,
like
if you're in BC, it is.
if you're in BC, it's a mess now. But if you're anywhere in Canada, then it's pretty bad in general, isn't it? I feel like a
We're gonna talk
lot
about that. It
happened.
doesn't apply everywhere. It doesn't apply everywhere. We're talking about that though. How those changes don't do much, but how they only affect the areas where those Airbnbs are restricted. But anyways, let's just like figure this out here. So we're going live. We got our show.
Relax.
We're gonna do an
Nobody's
hour-long
watching you.
show. There's no skit today. I mean,
Sorry about the no skit.
we're doing the skit live. Here it is, real in the flesh. We're not AI, but yeah,
Yes.
Daryl, tell me about your vacation. You're on vacation. First of all, where the hell are you?
There's nothing interesting about this vacation, but I'm having a good time. We extended the trip by a few days, which is very unlike me because normally I'm ready to come home after like 4 or 5 days. But
Yeah,
it's so beautiful here in Curacao, I think you say? Curacao, Curacao. Anyways, we're
oh
moving
no, you're
here.
there. You're moving
I'm
there.
here, but like they speak 18 different dialects here, and English and Dutch. And I don't know what most people are saying in Toronto, but here I'm more confused than normal because it sounds like a little bit like French and a little bit like Italian, a little bit like Spanish, but it's none, which
It's
is
none of those
pretty
things.
crazy. But what a beautiful place!
But
Like I can't
really,
believe.
but hold on. Let's just, if they were speaking like perfect textbook French, Spanish, or Italian, could you understand them anyways?
Well, I did go to French immersion for 8 years, so the
But the
answer is
answer
still
is
no, no. I would
okay,
not be able
okay.
to, but I'd pick up
All
a
right.
few
But
words here and
it's
there.
another language that has variations of
Nope,
other languages that you can't understand. That's perfect.
that I can't understand. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, we're here. It's beautiful. I'm gonna figure out a way to move here because I absolutely love it. This is the best place I've ever been in my entire life. I'm not kidding. And the people are beautiful. They do speak English. The food is amazing. The beaches are crazy. But anyways, I mean, there's way more important things than my vacation right now because they announced a whole lot of nothing this week in multiple fronts, right? They
That's how you do
announced
it.
I mean, I guess elections are coming up. Is that the story? And we're all trying to win an election now and pretend like
Not just
elections
that.
are
It's
even
just
real.
you're always just trying to be able to keep everybody happy, right? So it's like, all right, what can we do that's going to make everybody feel like we're on top of things, you know? And obviously, the federal government right now is taking a lot of heat, right? Because what does the city say when the city says, "Oh, we can't
We
build
need
more
some more
housing.
money.
We need
Please
we
give
need
us
we need
more
help
money.
from the provincial and federal governments." What does the
We don't have
province
enough
say when they
money.
get there? They say, "Oh, I
Oh,
don't know. We need more help from the federal government." And the federal government goes, "Hey, it's not our problem, guys. Hey,
yeah,
hey,
there's
you guys figure this
problems.
out already. You guys,
They're
you
over
guys need to build
there,
more houses. We got all these
right?
billions of dollars, for housing, but I mean, we haven't actually built any houses yet. We're just sort of like
No,
collecting the
but
money
TK,
right now. We're still planning."
we're still thinking about the consultations of the
Yeah,
consulting work that needs to be
yeah.
done.
There's no
But
consultants though.
we have lots of announcements, though. Like, I mean, what was that other thing called? The Canadian Mortgage Charter? What the hell is that piece of shit? There's nothing in there, TK. It's like reading nothing.
Yeah.
It's like
Here,
reading something from 3 years ago.
I
Like
got
that's
some
how
notes.
relevant it is. You have
I got some
notes?
notes, and there's a big no change circled here. But so they're going to temporarily
No.
allow. Okay, this is like the federal government wants to basically say to banks, like, "Hey guys, here's what you need to do in order to be able to make sure that everybody thinks that we're on top of things and that you guys are the good guys. So, all right, here, if we just follow these simple things, then when the time comes and somebody's in trouble, we'll have some guidelines on how to deal with them." So the first is we're going to temporarily allow them to extend their amortizations. Oh, boss, we've already been doing that. Oh, oh, okay, good. But we're gonna put it on a piece of paper now, and you
Yeah,
guys
we're
are
gonna write it down
really
now.
gonna
Yeah,
look good now. You guys are, oh man,
let's
wait. But the
go.
whole point of this, is this. This is the whole reason. We've been talking about it. People on YouTube channels, social media, all that kind of stuff, realtors, they've been saying, hey, other people are getting these things. But I've had clients come to me and say, oh no, my bank told me I couldn't do that because there isn't something in
That's a
writing and a
different
law.
story.
But that's the
No, it's in
problem is
writing, but they weren't telling anybody because it wasn't beneficial to tell them,
nobody
right?
knew. Nobody knew about it.
Nobody
Sometimes even the
knew.
people at the bank didn't know about it. And so
Well,
that's
what about
why
all these fucking finance influencers or all these fucking mortgage guys that are on TikTok and on Twitter? And how come none of them fucking knew about this? Like, it seems like if it's in
Everybody, we talked
writing,
about it. No, we've
we
been
did,
talking about it. The
we
extending
have.
amortizations, yeah. Who's not been talking about that?
That's not the same thing, is it?
It is. That's the very first point. So
How?
I'm tackling these one at a time here. The
One at a
banks were
time. Good
giving it
luck,
out to
Tuesday.
anybody. The banks were giving that out to anybody who
Who?
needed it.
Not
When they were
anybody.
getting
Only
when they
insured, right?
no
Insured or not insured?
no. Anybody who got to
Which
the point,
insured?
Daryl, who had the need, whose financial issues where they were insecure about maybe the next payment that they had to make making, or they were talking to the bank about what their options were. The banks were going. People were saying 90 years amortizations. We were negatively amortizing properties, meaning that every time you make a payment, you owe more money.
This is
Okay, so
how it
now,
should be, right? This
so
is the master plan.
what the charter says is that, hey, banks and hey, consumer, guess what you're able to do if you're in trouble. That's what the whole point of that is. The next one there was about fees for changing mortgages, renewing, all that kind of stuff. They're trying to eliminate fees, which again, when you are stuck in a position, the banks are going to try to hang on to their money as much as they can and try to take yours and as much of it as they can. So now there's a charter where you can go and you say, hey, you can't charge me those fees anymore because guess what? It says it on the charter. Good. They were
So
already
you're
doing
gonna
that.
build it into the rate then, right,
Six
TK?
6 months
This is
before
not a
renewal.
foolproof plan.
Listen, we'll
Are
talk about
you
that
really
after.
thinking that you're gonna get through all these six without me cutting you off 100 times?
I got four more to go. They're going to
Four more.
reach out to
Okay, good luck to
homeowners
you.
6 months before their renewal
Right. What is
to be
what
able.
is this shit? Tell me, what is
Think
this all
about
about?
it.
Yeah,
Because what they want is they
good
want to
customer
force the
service.
banks to get a call and say, hey, Mr. Frankfurt,
Yeah,
we noticed that there's no more deposits going into your account. It seems like you're not working. Your payments right now have been $800 a month because you bought the home 10 years ago, and
yeah.
that's how much mortgage you have. Well, your new payment's going to be $3,000 a month, and that's coming up in
Um,
6 months from now. And considering you don't have a job, is there anything that you think you should start planning to do, Mr. Frankfurt? These are the conversations
is
they're
that the
going to have.
purpose of this, or is it more
Listen to
like,
that.
Mister Butler? How's work going lately for you? Are you enjoying yourself? I noticed that you aren't making any deposits lately. Are you on vacation?
Get through the last three here so we can start looking at the comments. Allow
Hmm.
them to make
How do
lump
we do
sum
that?
payments and sell their house with no penalty. Again, all things that they
That's
were
new, right?
advocating
That's
for.
totally new. Yeah.
All right. Waive interest on interest when payments. This is the last one. Waive interest on interest when payments are not covering all the interest. So they're looking at your payment and they're like, all right, negatively amortized. You're not making any difference. There's no principle here.
You have
We're
no
adding money
job.
onto the
Yeah.
amount of money that you owe to us every single month. So don't
Yeah.
worry, we won't charge you interest on interest.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
But
So
pretty soon, they're going to qualify for
it just
that
goes
four
under the
hundred
principal.
dollars. Well, but soon they'll be so broke that they'll qualify for that $400 food check that people were getting a little while ago,
We
right?
got we
And you
got
have
we
to.
got we got we got comments.
We
Hey,
got comments.
JRM. Hey everyone, looking forward to the show. Hope you're still here, JR. Don, come on, dance monkeys.
Where are you seeing this?
We're,
How do you
we're,
see
we're
this,
dancing.
TK?
We're dancing. I don't know. It's on my screen. Charlotte,
It's
good morning,
on your
boys. Good
screen.
morning,
Oh, it
Charlotte.
just popped up on my
Wasim,
screen.
hello, boys. I'm going to sell my Milton home soon and going to hire you, TK. I'm happy to hear, Wasim. I'm here
Oh
for
yeah,
you. MD, Daryl, looking South American. He is
South
South
American.
American.
Oh,
Where are you right now? That's in the Caribbean, I imagine, right?
Yeah, it's in the
Mad
somewhere in
Perfect,
the
welcome.
Caribbean, near
Mad
Aruba.
Perfect. Daryl has Vince Vaughn cadence.
Yeah, it's this round haircut I got going on here. I'm rocking this round head. Daryl,
No
get
one's
a
ever,
better mic. Is my mic not working?
no, your mic's fine. Nobody's ever
I lost one of my
complimented my cadence.
earpods on the fucking plane. Can you
Morning,
believe this?
Tom.
I lost it on the plane. How do
Morning,
you do
Pilot
that?
Girl.
Okay,
Raz
forget the
P.
comments, TK. It's enough.
Who's
People
saying
are here to listen to
welcome?
us
No, we want them to
babble.
comment. We want them to
Do
comment.
we?
Relax.
Is that
Yeah,
good?
don't be so full of yourself. We want
Y'all
to interact. That's the whole point
absolutely
of the
crack me up.
live show.
All right. It's working now, but now I can't see you. I just see a bunch of words on the screen, but I guess that's okay. Hold on, I got to
I
press
don't
the
really need
screen
to
to
see
see
you.
it.
Yeah.
There we go. A
No,
flip up, flipping up.
don't flip.
The new mortgage charter is complete dog shit. What the fuck? Seriously. Yes, seriously. Daryl's audio is really making this hard to listen to. Shit, TK, what do I do?
Don't worry. Relax. Maybe you
How
should get
about
rid of
like?
the comments.
But then I can't hear TK. Is that any
Put it
better?
put it back in your ear.
Put it back in my ear? Sorry, guys.
Just relax. Don't worry. All right. So
Taking a breather.
we're on control here. I'll do the comments. You get rid of the comments. I'll do the comments, and
Now my thing's not working.
you just talk. What's not working? Can you
Now
hear
my
me?
earpiece is not working.
Maybe change your speaker. Just do a speaker and your mic. Why don't you test it from your turn off your AirPods and just do pure from your laptop? See what that sounds like. See, guys, see what happens when we start complaining about the mic. Now, Daryl's
Don't complain about the mic. Is it working now? Is it better? Did I fix it?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Good.
All right. Sorry, everybody. All right. What did I miss?
So we're back. So we're talking about the charter. Obviously, these are all big points that people are talking about right now, and they're just something to put in the news. Is this a nothing burger?
Nothing burger, TK.
Served hot and ready.
Nothing burger.
Right?
It's just like, come on,
It doesn't
guys.
change
Like,
the market.
who are you
in
fooling
anyways.
though?
Yeah, it doesn't
Fucking
change the
bastards.
market in anyways. Let's talk about
I'm
the
getting
market.
so sick of this shit. Let's talk about the market. How's the market doing from your perspective, TK?
Well, the good news is that really there's not a lot of people listing their homes. I mean, in condos, we're seeing more and more condo listings piling up. But like in the detached market, if you go and try to look for a detached home in Toronto, it's not easy to find a good one, you know? And so like we're getting lots of showings. The buyers, I'm getting low offers in some properties, and you just kind of have to know like what the stats are and what the last sale was and understand where you're at. If you are overpriced or if you're priced right and you just got to wait. So there's a little bit of navigating like that, because definitely there's going to be people who are going to bring you low offers. That makes no sense.
Sure.
Other than
Now's
that, I
the
mean,
time.
otherwise the market prices are stable. I mean, detached house prices are stable. Where things are definitely slipping is the further you get out of town. I know that we had some showings in like Barrie and Aurelia and stuff like that, and the amount of feedback calls you're getting tells me that those agents aren't busy. They're not getting a lot of showings on their properties, right? And that
A low
they're not
offer
getting
today is
offers.
a blessing, someone just said in the comments.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Any offer, right?
That's what it is. Is the price that these are the conversations we're having? Is the price that you're not happy with today? In 6 months, you're going to be begging for.
You're going to be begging for in 6 months.
Yeah. Today, you're like,
really
geez, that
have to
sucks.
sell, yeah.
Yeah, but
I see
but
people
the truth is
taking.
this, though, Daryl. The truth is this, though. We're not seeing prices slip in the detached market at all in Toronto.
Really? But I'm seeing like some TikToks and some tweets about some pretty significant price drops or losses, actually. Like people selling at a gigantic,
a lot of those that I've seen,
300,000.
there are a lot of those that I've seen. One, it's from House Sigma, so you don't know what the situation is. One of the houses that I was showing not too long ago, they sold.
What does that mean?
I'll show. I'll tell you. The neighbors sold for a low price compared to what we were buying for, but that's the comp. So that's what I used. And then the agent said to me, "Oh, well, their deal fell through at a higher price, and so they kept the buyer's deposit, and then they resold and all that." And I said, "I don't care. They relisted it, and that's all the money they could get. That's the new comp." So when you go and you look at this guy sold for less, did he? Or was that the last deal and it fell through? Because one of them that I saw on Jason's
Oh, you
social
don't
media
know if it
accounts.
fell through or not. These are just,
Could have been
you get the
it could have just
soul?
fallen through. You have to look on the MLS
It's
to
not
see
a
if it's the same
closed
seller,
price?
not just from
Oh, they're
how
not
signal.
closed deals?
But
Oh,
look
so
at,
hold on a sec.
sorry guys, this is
I'm,
too many comments now for me to look at all the time. But you know,
do you
those are
foresee
definitely,
rates
especially if
coming
you guys are going
down?
to
We'll
argue
talk
about the
about that.
economy and what's going to happen with prices and all that
No,
stuff.
argue about the economy for
We don't
sure.
have time
So
to
hold on a sec.
get into that, but we will comment on the official video when we release it.
Did you see? You want to hear something crazy? So, like,
Yeah.
when we're at the beach or the pool, I like to not be very vocal and kind of keep to myself, which I'm sure is shocking. Um, but my wife tends to kind of gravitate to people. So she's in the water the other day and she's talking to these people, and I'm like, oh God, like, how long is she going to talk to them for? Because I really don't want to like get
You guys
into
gonna
the
be having dinner with them
conversation,
tonight?
right?
Yeah.
No. So all of a sudden, I hear the girl go, did you see that thing? I heard it's crazy in Toronto where, somebody posted a half of a bed for $600. And then, next thing you know, I'm in the water and I'm talking about real estate in Toronto with these people, and I'm happier than a pig in shit, TK, as my dad used to say. But like,
renting out
these are
your
people
other half of the
from
bed.
Texas talking about it in Curacao. Like, this is how crazy the Toronto market is right now, and how I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
true like posting. Like, I don't know if somebody's really posting half of a bed in a master bedroom for $600, but like that went so viral that it got to Texans in Curacao, TK,
Yeah.
which is pretty crazy, right? Like, it's pretty
You know,
crazy
Toronto
that
the good stuff never seems to spread very far, but as soon as something
no, they're
crazy in
like,
Toronto happens, the Americans love talking about it.
wow, what good stuff, but they're
I looked
like,
up
wow,
I looked up rates. Look, everything, see, this is so, like, people are so, like, they attach themselves to negativity and then they spread it out, it goes viral. I literally looked up last night. I said, how much can you rent a room for in my neighborhood, just to find out, okay?
yeah,
$500.
just in case, right? 500
$500 a
bucks.
room.
Oh, a room, yeah.
Room.
Yeah, basement is
10
fucking
years ago.
$3,000. A basement, you can get $3,000 for your basement right now, more than
You
likely,
can,
which is
if
crazy.
if you need a place to live, you can go to Scarborough and get a $500 a room, place to stay, $500 a month room, place to stay. Quit whining. You want to live at Young and Bloor? Yeah, okay. You got to pay $1,200 to sleep on the guy's other half of the bed. So
On
you
the
want to live in
other
Young and
half of the
Bloor? You
bed,
know what I mean? Like, what are you so like
per
hopeless for
cushion
here?
pricing,
Jump on the
right?
subway or the GO train every single day and get yourself to school or work. Jeez.
We can
Holy
rent you
smokes.
12 inches of bed for 300, 18 inches for 1562.
Yeah,
It's
right?
absolutely insane, TK. But
I'm
you know
just
what?
saying though, but like, it's blown out of proportion. People keep talking about like how crazy it is to rent fill in the blank. Well, yeah, I mean there are
Oh,
some
I give
premium
you a great
locations where,
deal. You must be
listen, that
halal. You
that
must be
12
religious man. You must
this
not
1200
watch TV. You
most of them
cannot
say
like
females only.
CNN.
Most of them say females only.
No CNN
Okay.
in this place. Okay, TK. The whole
Yeah.
thing is just insane, and people are recognizing it around the world. That's how insane our market is right now. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
like, nothing, nothing makes sense at all. Like, nothing. So prices stabilizing kind of doesn't make any sense, right? But like you say,
Why?
there's not much for sale, and other people, I think it's like 18,000
Condos, man.
units. Is it
Condos
just
right
condos?
now. Think about all the
Oh,
condos that
it's
are
no
getting complete.
houses. No
Think
houses,
about
all
all the
condos.
think about all the condos that are getting completed that are brand new that people thought that they were going to be paying 3% interest rate. Then they had to go and
Please
get a
subscribe.
private mortgage. Then they have to go and please subscribe. Then they have to
Please
go and
subscribe.
get the mortgage to be able to close. And then they're like, I can't afford $6,000 a month, but I'm only collecting 2,500. So a lot of those people will list. A lot of people are looking at the writing on the wall with the condo market because of all new construction. But I mean, definitely the condo inventory is building up. I just listed a condo at Bathurst and Shepherd this week, and the last one sold
There's
in
condos at Bathurst and Shepherd?
yeah, right by Wilmington. There's like a bunch of buildings.
Okay, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
couple ones that are new going up. This one's at 760 Shepherd, and it's 10 years old or something. And
Listing of the week.
Listing of the week. Anyways, but the comps on it, okay, so the comps on it were like the same unit sold for 725 only 2 months ago. And
What'd you list it for? What?
725 is what the last comp sold for.
And now?
And so we were looking, we were like, well, we know inventories come up. We know that there's going to be more options for people and that the market's been trending down the last 2 months. So we listed it at 675,
675. Get this thing out of here. Get rid of the hot potato.
I'm hoping that that's enough, to be honest with you.
That's not maybe enough. That sounds insane. What's that as a percentage? But hold on.
That's condos. That's condos.
Condos is a mess, right? But I think some really expensive houses are like in trouble, right? Like some people went out, they balled way too hard. They got some crazy $3 million mortgage, and they're like,
But those
I can't do this anymore.
Listen, those truthfully, some of those situations. The last one I went to was in like Central Toronto. So I don't want to say the neighborhood exactly, but Central Toronto, nice area. They bought for over 7 million, and now the price based on all the comps and stuff like that, because they bought last year, was under 7. So I think they paid 7.5. Now is 6.5, something like that. But it was $1 million. Then you start factoring land transfer tax. Then so I told the lady, and I said, "Can you just swallow $1 million loss today?" I said, "If I were in your position, I would be selling my rental properties. I would be, trying to withstand the pressure and try to hang on for dear life, because you are going to be guaranteed so fees. Like you're $1.5 million, like of your equity, your down payment that you just put down a year and a half ago just gets wiped off the plan. I'm going to fight for my equity. Like seriously, like maybe things don't get better and that's the best decision for her is to sell. I don't know. I just told her, me personally, what I would do is I would feed my kids Kraft dinner. I would take them out of private school and I would send them to Jane and Finch. I would, walk to work, and I would make sure that I paid that mortgage until something had changed and people were willing to pay somewhere close to the price that I paid back in 2022. Because otherwise, it's today it's 1.5. It's like there's no like negotiations there. There is no way that that's going to be any better. At least there's a chance that you keep your money. At least there's a chance that when the market changes and rates come down, which they are going down. I saw a comment about rates going down. Rates are coming down a little bit.
Maybe, but maybe they'll go up again. Who the fuck knows?
Never going to be where they were in
TK. Some people, but like a lot of people are not in the position that they got, money in the bank, money coming in, and have, like been responsible. Like I'm not saying that there's not plenty of those kind of people, but there are so many people that like beyond overextended or made crazy earnings on bullshit over the last few years that just like, didn't even consider for a moment that the party could ever end and that they weren't like the smartest, best investor since Warren Buffett, right? And so those people, they bought like stuff, a lot of them overextended because they could, because people, these are people with new money and they're learning how to use and do things on TikTok from like other idiots, right? So you got these idiots training idiots with new money to buy shit that they don't even understand. And it's like, yeah, we'll give you a $3 million mortgage. You're worth like $100 billion in Bitcoin, right? So like, here we go. Right? Like, sure, you can have that. Or you could leverage your Bitcoin as a mortgage. Remember that fucking thing? Like, and it just got way too crazy for enough people, I think, in certain places that it is like definitely having an effect on the market. And also, I think we're seeing, and who we're seeing disappearing right now is these smaller developer builders that like bought a lot somewhere and like just got really stupid caught at the wrong time. And maybe they got a great property, and maybe if things kept going, the prices made sense, but there was no plan for what happened. And I mean, who could? I mean, imagine getting, there he is, Steve Karish, Laundry Time. Perfect. So like imagine, you bought this piece of land, you get it financed, and for whatever reason, it takes an extra year and a half than you were planning, which puts you into like the worst raise interest rate raising cycle of all time, and now you're sitting there with your dick in your hand and no possible way of paying double or maybe more than double for the carrying, right? For the
Mhm.
interest. Like so you got guys who had decent deals that all of a sudden got obliterated, and maybe it was their first or their second or their third, right? And
In my experience, Daryl, from what I'm seeing out there, very few of those deals going under receivership. Anybody would
I
be
just saw two.
classifying those as good deals.
Well, but they
Brands.
were good deals went 2.5 years ago when they were purchased, right? Or whenever the fuck it was.
The
Three.
price they
Some of these
paid, the
deals,
price
right?
they paid in all the ones that I've seen is
Retarded.
way above
Oh, did I say that?
any
Is that politically correct?
way above anybody would ever imagine. So the issue is this. Here's the issue. I had a good
Don't
conversation with my
cancel
parents.
me. Yeah, all right.
Okay. So my parents bought their
Liar.
home
Shit.
from a builder in 1986. Okay. Bramley Homes. They went bankrupt afterwards.
Huh?
Then sold the house in 2002 for the same price. You know what their reaction was?
What?
15 years later.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
So un-Canadian. Where are these
No, it
people from?
wasn't.
Who are
Daryl,
they?
that's
What's
your
wrong with them?
mindset. That
My mind.
when their boomers were buying their houses and they're paying 200 something thousand, they're not thinking about this as being this amazing investment vehicle. They're thinking about a home, a roof over their heads, living the Canadian dream. That's what they want, right? The house was 200 something thousand, 240 or whatever it is. But now when you talk to anybody post 2002, they think, well, if they don't earn 10% a year on their real estate, their principal residence, they failed. And that's the issue. And so that's the mindset that needs to change. So what we're having right now is we're having a switch because those builders, they were in their performance, they were saying, well, I can afford to pay double what everybody else because in 3 years, the prices of those townhouses. No, you shouldn't be looking at it that way. You should be looking at it as prices are stable. And if they do increase, well, then that's a benefit. So here's the issue right now. What
It's
about your
all
daughter?
wrong.
What about, I know, but what about your daughter right now? What about my kids? Do you think that they're going to
They're
be homeowners?
fucked.
Do you think they're going to be homeowners?
Yeah,
And the
because we're gonna buy
conversations
them their first homes.
at the end of the day, those that generation, they're looking at us going, hold on a second, you want me to contribute 40% of my income, this income that I just managed to be able to squeeze out of my employer because I went to school and now I got student debts and all these other issues that they've got, which we won't get into. Now you want me to contribute 40% to housing when I can contribute 15 and go and rent somewhere else? You guys are stupid for buying a house.
Come
Why would
to
you do that?
Curacao. You know how cheap it is here? Okay, can I tell you?
That's the shift though, Daryl. That's the shift that's going to happen is that you're going to see people's mindset on the value of their housing. This needs a generational change on how we perceive housing. This is what we need right now because
This is
prices
a
should be stable. Prices should be stable. They shouldn't be going out of hand. We should be able to create enough housing for everybody so that prices are stable. They're not going to go down. The prices can't go down because of a lot of different reasons, which we've talked about. A lot of baby boomers own the houses, and a lot of the control is in people's hands who have a lot of money and equity and very little debt. And the very few people who are suffering right now own very little housing, very, very, very little housing as a percentage. And so that means that the people who are going to be new to home ownership in the next generation of people, I don't know what generation that is. Are they Z or G or I don't know who's under millennials? Is it Z? It's probably Z.
generation
So
fucked.
those guys, they need to change
Totally
their
fucked.
mindset on housing because
Yeah,
it's a
they
big
have.
it's a
They're
big
living in
trap.
vans, man. They're
It's a
living in
big
vans
trap
and tents.
to be a 20-year-old right now and thinking you're going
Tiny
to buy a million
houses.
dollar house, right?
Tiny houses are all the rage, bro. They're so fucking
Exactly.
cool. Yeah, Generation
30
Z.
year olds
Thanks,
right
Charlotte.
now are going to be the last generation who care about buying homes because
No.
unfortunately, we don't have a better investment vehicle than our principal residence, and paying down that mortgage is going to be the best thing that we can possibly do. But the generation now who's 15 to 25, they're growing up getting educated online, and their financial intelligence literacy is much higher than any generation before. And they're going to come out of this and be able to look at it and say, I can spend 15% of my gross income on rent, and I can afford to be able to invest my Wealthsimple account is going to do it automatically for me, and I'm going to have this investment here, and it's going to be a much healthier lifestyle for those guys.
So check this out. So I'm walking down the beach yesterday. Okay, so we were only supposed to be here for a week, but it's so fucking beautiful. We had to stay for as long as the kids would allow us to, because the dog is a real fucking pain in the ass. Anyways, so we come to this new hotel for the next leg of our vacation. We're walking down the beach, and we're like, "Whoa, what are those things?" It's like just like these weird futuristic pods everywhere on the beach. Okay, and we're walking. I go, those are hotel rooms, I think. They're building hotel rooms. They're like these crazy pre-manufactured. I wish I knew how to post a picture here. They're like these crazy modern pre-built like rooms with a washroom and a closet and a bedroom. And I was like, this is so fucking amazing. Like it was just this empty part of their property. They just plopped like, I don't know, 100 new hotel rooms.
So like garden suites.
Like, yeah, looking out on the water, unbelievable. And I was like,
awesome.
You know what?
Yeah.
30, maybe 40 more square feet with a kitchen now. And these things, and like, you know, you fold up your bed, or your bed turns into your ceiling lamp, or I don't know, somehow the thing transforms into something livable for, you know, when you don't need the bed. Maybe you know, you want to sit on the sofa or something, one of those futons. But like, it's so easy if you can brainwash the next generation to be fine living like, you know, in quarters like this. Maybe they won't have necks like that guy on that show my wife watches.
What do you really expect? Like $1 million is going to be the
cheap,
average
man.
price point. How do you buy $1 million house when you're just
don't.
starting out and you got
You
$200K in student debt and you're making
jump ship.
you're making $200,000 a year? You know, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, so I'm going to take on an $800,000
online.
Where am I going to get my down payment from if I don't have parents to help me? You know,
I'm out of here.
believe me.
I'm not kidding. I'm announcing it right now, TK.
You're
live. I'm
Listen,
fucking
I'm going to call
leaving.
in. I'm going to call the border services.
I'm gone.
And wherever you are, and I'm going to put a flag on you and say, don't let that guy out of your country. He's suspicious. And then you can thank me later. You can thank me later.
I appreciate that when I'm eating the jail food. That sounds good. Okay, TK. So speaking of,
I'll be like, listen, there's going to be a well-dressed guy with really great hair talking about real estate in the line at customs coming through the airport really soon. All right, his wife's going to be trying to make friends with everybody that you can see, and he's going to have about 6 times as much luggage as you think somebody who's only been there for a week should have. Don't let that guy out of your country. Okay, he's suspicious. There's
you know what?
going on. Trust me.
Every time we pack, we're like, we don't need to bring this much stuff. Like, let's just bring the bare necessities, right? We don't need, I wear like the same pair of shorts almost every single day. I only change my shorts for this, and you can't even see them. I saved my nice shorts.
I'm not wearing pants.
No, you shouldn't be. You should never be. TK, we should all be living on a beach with no pants always. What is the fucking stupid idea of Canada anyways? We should all just migrate Canada somewhere. Like, get on the boats, move over, you know, like transfer everything into some kind of new, like the currency here is fairly decent. The people here are beautiful.
I've heard this several times recently. They stay for healthcare. Like
here?
No. People. So I heard this twice.
Yeah, that's one of our reasons.
Snowbirds. They're like, well, no, we can't go and live in this beautiful
country.
Can't give
up the
so
free.
Much better
Yeah.
And like it's basically free living over there compared to here because we need to have our health care. We need to have our OHIP and we got to be here 6 months or more to the day. And it's just like, guys, have you guys priced out medical?
Yeah, healthcare, like actually getting healthcare.
Insurance. No, you get insurance in another country. Like, have you guys priced that out here? Like, it's not like you need to go and spend $200K at the hospital. No, you go and you get your own independent private insurance in one of these other countries. Like, look into the cost of that. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure that in many cases it would be justified to just go and live somewhere with private health insurance, right, and live a good life.
Well, and this is the thing, but forget about like the cost savings. It's so much cheaper to live here. You don't pay any fucking taxes. And you know what the best thing on top of all of that is? Like, first of all, you can get a really beautiful place for cheap, even on the beach, for God's sakes. Not that there's so many places on the beach here, which is kind of weird, but like you can get a place for cheap. Rent is super cheap. The people are fucking unbelievably friendly. They drive on the right side of the road, like, and there's room to grow like crazy. But you see, there's people moving here. Like, we went into a store and it was like they were Indians. Like, they were definitely from India, and they started like a souvenir shop, right? And we were talking to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, our cousins went to Brampton." Like, they're so stupid, right? Those guys are in Brampton getting frauded to death in the real estate market, and these guys are
They own
living
6
in
houses. They're doing
paradise,
great.
right? They're fucking cool, living on the
Yeah.
beach, selling like nice people shit all day, enjoying like it's 40 degrees here right now, okay? And they're just like having a good time, right? Then we go
Think about
into the
it. Think about the
grocery store.
con. Think about the con in India. There's a
Ah,
sign, and it's just like, Curacao, Brazil, I don't know, other nice places, Bali. It's like,
Canada
and then
paid
Canada's
triple.
just this big
Yeah,
sign with this big.
come
There's
to
like 6 of
Canada.
them, and they're like, well, those other places look nice, but if these guys can afford 6 billboards, they must be
Well, it
really
does
good.
say, it does
Must
say
be a
there's
really,
lots of
must be a really
opportunity,
good
doesn't it?
place.
Yes, you should go there for sure.
Scam. And
TK,
I bet you there's
it's a
some
big
wife sitting
fucking
there at
scam.
home. I told you we were supposed to go to Curacao. I told you
God damn
Curacao
it.
would be a better
Yeah,
life for us. My cousin's in
right?
Curacao right now. It's
My
40
cousins
degrees.
just fucked us. Yeah.
We own 6 houses, and the mortgages on all of them are more than what they're worth. Jeez.
Yeah, but the guys here probably had to guarantee the loans. So who knows what happened there? But it's crazy.
Honestly.
That then we go into like a
Those
grocery
t-shirts are
store in
beautiful.
town. Chinese guys, like their whole family moved here. A bunch of Chinese people. They don't even speak any of the languages here, but they run a booming grocery store. Okay,
Yeah.
grocery
Yeah.
store,
How
liquor
many people are
store, like
here? We got
crazy.
133 people on the live.
I don't know if that's good or if that's bad, but
I think
it
it's good.
seems like we're having a good time. I don't know what anybody's said recently. It's called the
I've been
Murphy
watching
Bender.
it. There are lots of good stuff. Yeah, lots of good
Indians are the
stuff.
ones doing the fraud in Brampton. Yeah, no shit. It's like brown on
Hey,
brown crime
they're
out
all
there.
they're all
It's
they're all
true though.
everybody's guilty. There's no one party guilty. I promise you that. All right, let's talk about it. So BC Airbnb.
BC
BC
Airbnb. Like,
says we don't
why is
want
it just BC
Airbnbs
though?
anymore.
No, but hold on. This is a federal thing now. This is across the nation.
BC. We're talking about just the province of BC. So we talked about
Why?
this a
Why?
couple weeks
Why?
ago. Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. All right, we heard from the man himself, Steve Karish. All right, Captain
Yeah.
Surrey
Captain Laundry.
BC's
Okay.
number one real estate agent. He said that it's a
Top
nothing burger.
podcast in the world.
He said it's a nothing burger, meaning that it's not going to lead to
Nothing
nothing
burger.
burger. Here
There,
we
you put
go.
it up
I just saw the
again.
comment.
Thank you.
He's saying it's not going to lead to a bunch of properties coming onto the market that were
It
once
won't?
being used for short-term rental and now being obviously sold or used for long-term rental. So it's not going to
Because they
create
won't be able
any
to
issues
sell.
there. Regardless, it's not going to be impactful. So then the federal government said, "Hang on a second, Canadians are not supposed to rent out their properties for Airbnb unless it's their principal residence and the other laws that they've got. So
Yeah,
if
hey,
they
remember
decide
that
to,
rule
but if
from the
they decide
beginning?
to anyways, Daryl, this is what they said. This is why this is so stupid. If
Hmm.
they decide to do it anyways, then we're not going to let them write off all their expenses, which means, for example, if you had 120K of income and 120K of expenses, you don't get to have those expenses anymore. So you have to pay the 30 something thousand in tax, which means you're negative 30 something $1,000 on your investment property, right? And so that's
Okay.
what the federal government's trying to do. But
Right,
that's like
right.
saying this. That's like saying this. All right, guys, listen.
Isn't that what
Trafficking
happened in the
narcotics
80s?
is trafficking narcotics is not allowed. You guys aren't allowed to do that, especially if you're coming from Curacao. Which, by the way, that's one phone call, Daryl, that I can make here, but I'll save you, right? But
There's
if you are
nothing
going to
on me,
traffic
TK.
narcotics, if you are going to traffic narcotics, then all the income that you're going to make, all right, we're not going to let you write off those expenses on all those boats from wherever,
Curacao.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not going to let you write off all those expenses. That's how we're going to get you. Like, it's so silly. Like, if they're banned
No,
and they're
it's
not
like,
allowed, how is it that they're saying, but if you're going to do it anyways,
if you're going to do it anyways.
tax you differently? Like, it's such a nothing burger. Like, it
So what
literally
should it be, though?
impacts
Shouldn't they,
nobody. So the same thing with Toronto too, because Toronto's got some restrictions. Anywhere across Canada where those restrictions are in place, they're saying the federal government's now saying, "Look, guys, we pulled up our
Tax the
boots and
shit out of you.
we did all the things we need to do, and we're gonna tax them. We're gonna make sure that they pay more taxes." Meanwhile, income is this really going to do? The real issue is
It's
people
gonna
who
just
are
push
not
it
claiming rental
underground.
income. People who are not claiming rental income. That's the real issue.
Yeah.
How are they gonna step up to that? The real issue is, how much taxes and everything like that have already been put on real estate investors, and how does that incentivize anybody to build more houses and want to actually get into the rental market? The real issue is the landlord-tenant board. How many people are giving up their long-term rentals in order to just put them back on the market so they'll be single-family home, because nobody wants to be a landlord anymore in BC or Ontario, right?
Can you imagine?
Those things.
Can you imagine the people at the height of the market who bought like cottages on the water, okay, for like some crazy price because they're like, I'm gonna Airbnb this shit for $3,000 a day, okay? People will just pay it. Do you remember I went away during the pandemic? Like I couldn't find a cottage. I paid like I don't even remember how much. Like it was like 16 or 18 grand for 5 days at a cottage, right? Because we wanted to be on the water. And people were making crazy money on these purchases. And now it's like, oh my God, not only was the price ridiculous, but the market is dead. Like as dead as a market could be. Right? And then on top of it, now you can't even like make the income without getting taxed to fucking hell. Those guys are completely screwed, no? You can't even sell one now, can you?
Well, it depends on the situation, right? But and anything can be sold. We had somebody come to us this week who had a real bad tenant issue, and one of the options was always like sell it for a price that the market's willing to bear with the current tenant living there.
Right.
Like, there's
Yeah,
always
that's a good option for the realtor. That's a great option. But what about the owner?
Well, the owner, if he needs to sell his property and he needs the money because he's got to go and take it out because he's got this guy's situation, a pre-con closing really soon that he overpaid for, and he needs to cover the shortfall on the appraisal. Dead serious. That's the story.
Where selling the Airbnb to do it?
Sell their rental property. The bottom line is like, how are you going to be able to free up that equity? How are you going to be able to get, whatever goal you've got to have? And at the end of the day, like some of the people. Some people are much less worried about the price of their home because they've had a really healthy mindset. They bought it 20 years ago. They always said to themselves, it'd be great if it got to 600,000 and then I would sell it. And wow, what would I do with all the money? I can't believe it. And now it's at 1.2 million. They're like, you know what? If I got to sell it for 950 because the market, dropped, or my tenant situation is bad, or I haven't renovated it, or whatever the situation is, I'm just throwing numbers out there. Some of them are okay with it, Some of them are okay with it because at the end of the day, their mindset going into this was always very realistic. It's only the people I'm dealing with right now who paid attention. I've always said this, the happiest people I deal with every single time when I sell their home are the people who pay the least amount of attention to the market over the course of the time that they own the home. Because when I get people who come to me and they say, well, my neighbor sold this, and I go there, at the end of the day, we're going to sell it for as much money as possible. No matter what, we're going to expose it. We're going to do everything right. We're going to put you in a position so that you get top dollar. But if you feel like it was worth more than what it actually was, even though we sold it for top dollar, you're going to come to me afterwards and just be like, you know what, I really should have got more. I'm really unhappy. Why did I sell? And it makes the whole experience worse. But sometimes that same price, if the person really had no expectations or even low expectations, we get them the same price, top dollar, no matter what. That's at the end of the day what's going to happen. Then they come and they thank me. They say, "Oh, I can't believe it. You're amazing. This is great. I'm so thankful." All these type of things, and they forever live the rest of their life going, "I sold at the right time. I did the right things," and they don't have that burden. I have people that I deal with who talk to me about the realtor who sold their home back in 1992 and what a bad job he did, and how they bought it for 160 and they had to sell it for 140, and their realtor was an idiot. And I'm like, to carry that resentment around your whole entire life is such a travesty. Like, you've wasted so much energy on that situation.
It's important shit to people. It's the biggest thing that anybody ever buys, right?
It's baggage, and
it's
the happiest people.
baggage.
They tell me, look, TK, we trust you.
They didn't sell anything.
we'd go through everything properly, everything's done right, they sell, they think, oh, that's fantastic, and they live a happy life. So don't pay attention to the market if you're going to sell.
Don't
Just
pay
enjoy it.
attention to the market, right? So
No,
I thought
when it's time to
somebody.
sell, you do. When it's time to sell, that's when you pay
Then you
attention,
start
not
paying
along the
attention.
way. No.
Hopefully, it's not time to sell in a deep, deep valley of depressionary hell,
Well, you
right?
shouldn't be selling because of a price. You should be selling because the only person I've ever met who sells property is because they need the money that they have on that property. Otherwise, you would just leave it there. And if you have tenant issues, leave it vacant. If you got maintenance issues, hire somebody. It's always about I'm selling because I need the money. And so
Okay, so but
when you need the money, it means there's something else better out there for you to put that money into. Therefore, that's got higher value and purpose. And that's the time to sell. It's the best time. Whatever the market conditions are going to be the market conditions. You really can't control them. What are you waiting for? Why?
well, so you were talking about pre-con, and then I saw somebody put a comment in that pre-con is the biggest scam of all time, right? And I think that's probably geared or directed towards the evil developers that force people to buy pre-construction like so much before the building's built. But it's a misconception, TK. It's not true. The developers are forced to sell them early in order to get the money they need to build the building to give the people the housing, right? And it's the system that perpetuates the scam. It is a scam. I'm not denying that, okay? It's the most fucked up, wrong, idiotic system out there. But it was created in a time where there was way too much inventory left over because we didn't do that. And the banks gave the developers all the money before it was sold, right? And then all of a sudden it's like Miami when there's 18,000 units like built and empty and can't sell, and there's still more buildings being built, right? But they're empty and they can't be sold, right? And so they try and fix things. And this is what this is the main theme here is the Airbnb bullshit, the Canadian mortgage charter bullshit. Like it's all a bunch of idiots trying to, right? No, not even a distraction. It's a bunch of idiots actually trying to fix things, but they're idiots. They don't know how to fix things in the public sector.
They can't fix
right?
things. They can't fix things.
Guess they can barely do what they're supposed to do. Okay, they're a bunch of, not all of them. I'm sure that there's some really great politicians somewhere doing something good for the constituents that they rule over, but I don't find that to be the case in our empire in Canada that this true dick guy's running into the ground at a rapid pace. So the evil developers are running the biggest scam ever, okay, right? This is how a lot of people perceive it, while trying to get the only fucking fix possible out in inventory, right? While everybody's attacking them, right? Because interest rates are an attack on real estate, okay? So who are you attacking? You're attacking everybody in real estate. And like, who's the most necessary person to balance off stock in the real estate market, right? Especially when you're bringing in 3 billion people a month, right? By plan and really don't plan on slowing down, right? So you give, not only do you not give us tools, you pretend you're giving us tools, but then you fucking stab us to death in the back while you're going, here, we're going to give you like some more density, but you'll never be able to build the thing because costs are too high, interest rates are crazy, and even though we're at 3.1% right now, which is fantastic, I thought that was somewhere near where we were aiming for. It's not time to cut rates yet, guys, because though it would be way worse, TK. It would be way worse to have more inflation creep back in and for those numbers to climb up than our recession, right? Said
but they have
no
that. They
one
have that
other
data,
than
though.
a fucking person in government ever.
You sound sarcastic. They have the data to show that back in the 70s when inflation got out of control and that they let their foot off the brake on the economy too soon, that inflation came back worse than ever. they need to put it's like a fire, you know what I mean? Like you gotta make sure that fire gets put out, and then you gotta pour water on it, and you gotta let it sit, then you gotta wait overnight, and then you can, go home for the weekend.
Fuck that, man.
Not
So
worry
take
about
it,
the place burning down. That's what
but
it
take
is.
it from 0 to 3, bro. Take it to 3. Let's see how 3 feels for like a year. Let's see if 3 does anything. You know what? Stop letting people bring garbage furniture in from China and selling it to us. Stop letting Amazon bring shit in from all over the world and sell it to us in garbage and create more inflation with all the fucking oil that this consumes, with all the fucking extra costs. Like, how is there not extra costs bringing
Right
shit
now,
from
do you know
China to here? It's
out of
fucking
that
insane.
3.1%, out of the 3.1%
All
CPI,
shelter.
do you know what? Yeah, 1% of that is mortgage interest.
Yeah, and do you know what's even crazier and even scarier? The amount of people that have renewed is like a fraction, and the average, okay? The average rate out there right now is like 5.85%, but the average person, the average mortgage out there is still at like 2.8 or 2.6. So,
Yeah.
like, nobody's at the high interest rates yet. Somehow, it makes up such a gigantic piece of the CPI component for shelter. And it's fucking up the rental market too, right? Because you're paying $600 to sit beside Apu in his bed, right?
Well, hopefully he works the night shift. You know what I mean? And you guys
Well,
can just
hopefully
shift
he
around, right? Like
showers.
that's who I
Yeah.
want to share a bed with. I want to share a bed with the guy. So as I'm waking up, he's going to sleep, and I'm like, all right, see you later, bud.
Yeah. Hopefully he didn't leave anything in the bed for you, TK. Because that's
Yeah, you know
gross. But
what?
it's
You can
supposed to
always
be a
change the sheets.
female.
Hey guys, you could
You
always
can
change the
always
sheets. Find
change the
someone. Like
sheets.
we're
You're
offering
so
solutions on this
positive
show.
all
All
the
right,
time. You know, you're all
change the
about
sheets.
solutions,
Find somebody
TK.
who's
It's
on a
really
night
true.
shift and say, look, you take day, I'll take nights. We'll share the same bed. That's it. I mean, as long as you got your own toothbrush, what's the harm? But in all seriousness, most of the people who have mortgages, because they're talking about 41% of RBC's mortgages are going to fixed rate mortgages are going to be renewed in August next year. Most of these people have very little mortgages. Most of these people can change their amortization. Most of these people have got no issues making those payments whatsoever. It's a very small portion of the population who bought homes between 1920 and 2022 who had a variable rate or have a fixed rate. Those fixed rates, for the vast majority of them, if they did get a fixed rate in 2022, is not going to be up until 2027. There's a long time for them to be able to figure things out. So everyone's got all these talks about
Yeah,
next
but
year and all that kind of stuff. Believe me, I'm talking to the actual people in the situations.
but
All
the
of the
slow
issues are
guy who
always the
can't
same.
swim, he's
They're the
fucked.
same issues over and over again. I bought
Over and over
pre-construction,
again.
I paid too
I
much.
got
I
a
bought a house,
Porsche.
I paid too
I
much.
got a
I had a
boat.
variable rate. Those type of things. The same story over again. Those people, they're screwed. I don't know. I honestly, I can't help most of them when they come to us.
But
But
the
there
system
are a ton of
perpetuates those
people
guys. They make
where
it.
we've
The
got lots of
system
solutions.
creates those guys, right?
Yeah.
Realtors sell them the land, right? The mortgage broker gets them the mortgage. The bank gives them the money, right? The appraiser tells them it's worth that much, right? The cost consultant says, yes, you can build it for that price. And then 6 months later, he goes, oh, no, you can't build it for that price. And all of a sudden, TIFF hits a big hammer in that 6 months with 2.5 bips or whatever you call them, right? 2.5% higher interest rates. And you're like sitting there going, oh, damn. If
Nobody feels
only.
bad for nobody feel bad. No, nobody feels bad for
That's
developers in that
crazy
situation.
because those guys,
Listen, okay,
you
what about the
can't
restaurant?
villainize them.
Okay, but what about the restaurateur? What about the guy who, started up his own travel agency? What about the guy, like there's so many
Restaurant business
businesses
is
that come with
dumb to
risk.
begin with. Yeah.
Well, that's what people will say about developments.
But you
Listen,
need it.
business
It's a
is business.
need. It's a
I
need.
need to
It's a
eat. I need to go to
need. You don't
restaurants.
need to eat in a restaurant, you
Come
spoiled
on,
little
listen,
brat.
Joel, it's a
Come
business.
on.
It comes with
You need to
risks.
live in a house.
Anybody going into business knows the risks. Nobody feels bad for anybody when they choose to follow their passion
No,
and
but
say,
we
hey,
shouldn't
okay,
be
you
there and
lost
go
your
like,
shirt on that restaurant,
ah,
George.
ah,
Guess
ah,
what?
ah, ah.
Get
Way to
back up
go,
and try it
loser.
again. Guess what,
Try
Mr.
it
Developer?
again.
You didn't make money on this project. Keep going. You can
Yeah.
do it. Hoorah. That's it. when it comes to home ownership,
Hoorah.
these are the people who people care about. This is who the voters care about. This is who the politicians care about. These are the people whose lives are always going to be the ones that they're considering the most, right? And those people have a lot of options. And we've
But what
talked
about
about
the
the options.
kids? What about the kids
We've talked about
crying
the
on
options.
TikTok?
Listen,
Can't
people have
afford to
options.
even eat.
They own a home. They can rent out their room. They can even rent out half of their bed now. I think
They
that's
can
the best
rent
part about
out
that article is
half the bed
Daryl,
in the
let me
tent.
finish.
In the tent.
Daryl, people, listen, I'm gonna get a new one right here, okay? Okay. First of all, some people didn't know you could rent out the half of your bed. So now that's a
Okay.
whole new business model. Now let me finish, Daryl. Stop interrupting.
Whoa.
Now you just came up with an
Fractional
even better
beds.
one. You can get a tent and put it in your living room. And you
Oh,
can say,
and
look,
rent,
private accommodations. And
right?
rent out the tent in your living room space. It's indoors.
Half the tent.
So, listen, you got options. Stop your whining.
Fractional reverse
You got
tent
options,
ownership.
right?
Interior tent
But
ownership.
I'm not being insensitive because
Whoa.
I do really
I
care
think you're
about
being
these
horribly
situations.
insensitive
What
right
I'm
now,
trying to just
TK.
make light of the situation is
Disgusting.
instead of complaining, find options for yourself. Figure out what's going to be the best thing to do. There are options. Selling should be the last option when you're going to take a loss. It really should be. You shouldn't be looking at just
But that
getting out
makes
and
it a
giving up.
bigger loss. If you don't get ahead of it, that makes it a bigger loss. And that's what Mark was saying last week
Listen,
in our best
fight,
episode of all time.
fight,
It's like, it's the
fight for your
last
equity.
thing. Fight for your equity. Right. So
Fight for
you
your
lose
equity.
the car, you lose the credit card, you lose the line of
Yes.
credit that's
Yes.
unsecured. You
Yes.
borrow money from Felipe and you lose a leg, but that's okay. Keep the house
Yes.
because while all that other stuff is crumbling away and disappearing and your life is going to shit, the house price is going up and everything's okay? Or did I miss something?
Listen, if you cut back on expenses and you're able to increase the income that you're generating from your
And
home,
have a
okay?
25-year
That's why
time
listen,
horizon,
that's
maybe.
why the Airbnb rules, don't apply. These new rules, these changes aren't affecting principal residences. In Toronto and Vancouver, you can still have your principal residence rented out, right? And so why? Because you need to be able to look at. Listen, there's even Turo, the one for your car that you could do, where you could rent out your car a couple days a week. Like, find solutions. Call the realtor, find out what it's worth, find out what your options are. But there's a ton of people who the realtor is going to say, "Oh, you need to sell. The market's going down." Da, 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 da. No, there's a good chance that you waiting is going to benefit you, and you're going to make it through. Every single time in history has proven that that is true. But it's how do you weather the storm? Those developers don't have the ability to carry that extra interest. It's just not available to them. They can't rent out the parking lot or increase the commercial tenancy rents or whatever type of building they own to develop on. They don't have the ability to create additional income streams, which hopefully they have already looked into those, because they should have been doing that during the time of their
I
development
don't.
and application anyways. But the bottom line is, which you've done, but what I'm trying to say is, when a principal resident person who's struggling should be out there looking right now for as many different options as they can, Airbnb, cut back expenses, and figure out how to be able to weather this storm as long as they can.
I
Daryl,
think that that
what's
is the
what's
opposite of what you should do, especially if you're older, because you don't have the time. You need to sell that fucking
that's
place
older
for as
people
much
don't
as you
have these
can.
issues though. You're not in their
They
field, so
do. They
you're
do
clear. No,
because
they're not.
people have fixed. Yes, listen, you buy a place. There's old people
You're
like in the early 70s that bought a place at the peak.
name
Okay.
name one that you know of personally.
I know
This
one
is in
very
your life,
personally that will,
in your
no, related to me, okay? Like
okay,
very close.
okay,
I would definitely not like the idea of me mentioning who they are, but I
no
know it
problem.
for a fact. Bought at peak, beautiful place, fully renovated, like amazing. But then,
Yeah.
boom, right? And yeah, maybe they didn't have a giant mortgage on the place, but they
Oh,
never calculated the fucking carrying costs, even if it's a $250,000, okay, tiny little thing. No one did the calculation that their payment would have to more than double. And
okay,
so
but
if you're on a
Daryl, this
fixed
is what I'm trying to
income,
explain to you. This is why, because that scenario doesn't count. Because if
why?
I were to go to some, because if I were to go to
How come
someone and
none
say,
of them
"Hey,
count that
you
I
know,
say?
because
It's
listen,
like when I talk to my
just,
wife, TK,
Darryl,
nothing I say counts.
you keep yelling. It's annoying.
Sorry.
So when people are dealing with these type of situations, and someone's got $250,000 worth of mortgage, and you say, look, you've got to pay an extra $1,000 a month right now, or we can sell your property and you take a $500,000 loss or a huge loss, right? Way bigger. It doesn't make sense to sell. So these people aren't the situations. The other situations that are out there are people have now increased, a couple $1,000s a month. It's really stressful. They really can't handle it anymore. And
So bad.
when they go to look at their equity situation, they realize that if they had sold it for 1.2 last year, they would have been doing really well. And right now, if they sold it, it's going to be 900, for example, right? So now it's just like, okay, these are very stressful situations. They say to themselves, well, maybe I should just sell and get out because I have those $2,000, and it doesn't make sense. They should look at their ability to create more income, to create less expense, drop down their expenses, so that $2,000 a month can maybe go down to $1,000 a month, or 500, or eliminate it completely. Find those solutions, because for them to take a $300,000 loss at 30, 40, 50 years old is a big deal, right? But the people with small mortgages, they'll never consider that. There's no way. There's no rational person who would say, "Oh, I'll just, if to save 12 grand a year in interest, I'm going to just lose 500K." They're not going to do that. Right?
Never gonna happen.
People need to know that, because there might be an agent telling them that it's a good idea, or something. But weather the storm. Like, weather the storm is the name of the game right now, and that's why we don't have a lot of listings. This isn't like my thinking. This is not like
Right, because
original
everybody's
TK
weathering
thoughts.
the storm,
This
for
is
sure.
most people's logical, rational thought on the situation. We don't have a lot of properties for sale that are detached, that are in demand right now, and most people who are transacting, in every situation that I know of, there's a need. There's no more people out there speculating, like on an investment side, and there's no more people who are selling on the listing side, saying, "Oh, I'm just going to test the market because I think that right now is a good time to sell." People have a genuine need. So if you go into a listing, for sure these guys are on the market and they're priced reasonably well. Like, there's a reason they're selling. And if a buyer's out there actually shopping, like, no buyers seem to want to buy right now, which blows my mind, because it's always do what the opposite of all the other buyers are doing. That's the best way to do anything. But anyways, if there are buyers shopping right now, they're motivated. Like, they want to get into a home. Like, they want to have a roof over their head, and they got things going on, right?
But it's one thing to come into the new market at the new numbers and make it make sense, right? And be able to handle it, right? But it's another thing. There's this like middle component of probably 30 to 50-year-olds that took $1 million mortgage or more, right? That were living pretty. And all of a sudden, like, it's not looking so pretty, and they're hanging on and they're hanging on. And, people keep teasing interest rate cuts, and they're like, oh, if they just cut by this time, I can like ride out the storm like TK is telling me to do, right? And everybody's telling me to do. And it's not like bad advice. It's not even a bad idea, but it's like I think there's a decent component of the population that like can't hang on for too much longer. And they've already been hanging on for a while. Or they just see the writing on the wall and they're like, if things turn around and prices start going up again, everything will be okay. And yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of the population that's like, yeah, if we just rent out the basement for however long we have to, we'll get to keep the house, and maybe we'll sell for even one day, or maybe we'll make more money. That's the next thing. It's like, how come, and I don't have an answer to this, but how come most of the pundits are certain that like this is going to be a long one? Like, this is going to be long. And how come like 2008, 2009 was like a year? Like, how come prices cranked or crashed for a lot of people? People got decimated within a year. People got rinsed out of the market, right? And then it was like the price went friggin' bananas again and got back to like higher than where it was at before things fell. And now people are just so certain that it has to be higher for longer, and because TIF says, it's not the right time to cut rates, that they're not going to cut rates. And yeah, you can point to, yes, fixed rates are dropping like a little bit. They're dropping, but are they like? How come there's so much certainty with the duration of this one out there?
I think, I mean, like you said, the pundits. So obviously, some people are going to already have their own ideas, but compared to 2008-9, like this one's way worse. And like we didn't really have any issues in 2008 and 2009. It was more just about liquidity. It was just more about perception. But overall, people in their personal finances were doing pretty well, right? There was very little external factors, whether it would be the economy or unemployment and everything else. This time around, obviously I used to think maybe the 89-90 crash was really similar, but like what people seem to be talking about a lot is how things were in the early 80s. So I don't really know a lot about that, to be honest with you. Like it's not something that we talk about a lot because obviously Frank and my dad were a big part of the 1991. So I learned a lot about those times from them and how things were in the 90s. But you would have to talk to an agent, like in my world, you'd have to talk to an agent who worked the 70s and then went through the early 80s. My dad got licensed in 83 or something like that. So he's not somebody who I got a lot of information from, and Frank was shortly after that. But definitely, a lot of people are talking about this was very similar to the way it was in the early '80s, and how people were, impacted by higher interest rates, and then the interest rates skyrocketed up. And those debts that they had. I remember there was a commercial that Nick, my buddy Nick, posted, but I'm sure that it's going around. But it was like this guy's like, I got my home and now the new mortgage interest rate's 14% and my payment's going up $200. I can't afford to pay that. I can't pay that extra $200. I got to sell, and there's a lot of people like that, right? So I think just the fact is the last 20 years, this generation, their home is their most important thing. They don't want to tell their friends that they're in trouble. They don't want to look like they're not succeeding. All of their friends have all made a ton of money in real estate, and that they feel stupid if they don't make 10% a year appreciation, like I said, which is totally outrageous for even that mindset to exist, but it does exist. And I think that the majority of the people who own properties right now who are in trouble will find a way to weather the storm. They will beg, borrow, and steal until they can get through this one way or another to be able to come out and say, I didn't take a loss on that one. And that's the difference today, is that there's going to be much less people who are going to be just throwing up the white flag. In 2008-9 in the States, there's people who owned the keys in the mailbox thing was because these people were just given these homes on the ninja loans, right? No income, no job, no assets. And so they walked in there with no equity. They walked in there with no equity. Now their payments are, more because of the type of mortgage that was issued, which we don't have those type of mortgages. So then they were like, why am I doing this? Like, here, bank, take the house. And so because there's so many of those, it became, much more profound. But in Canada, we have a much healthier banking system. The people who own all the real estate aren't doing that bad. Is this going to last a long time? Like, are the residuals from the 2020 to 2022 market going to be here for 10 years? Absolutely. Right. But it doesn't mean that we're going to be in a declining market. It doesn't mean that people are going to lose their homes during that time. It just means that people are going to be making choices on what they spend their money on for the next 10 years because of the decisions they made during 2020 and 2022. So that takes money out of the economy, which affects the economy overall. What's the government's solution? Obviously, they're bringing in more people in order to
laneway suites.
Get more activity in the economy so that money can go around and that those other businesses will be supported. And so, it's an interesting thing that I don't think there's any like historical point that someone could say for sure with certainty, like, oh, well, because this happened, we know exactly how this one plays out. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of people guessing, and you know, I'm an optimist, and I'm somebody who's wants people to be okay, and I don't want anybody to struggle more than they need to. And so that's why that's my mentality right now, is trying to tell people not to sell if they don't need to, trying to look at people's situations. If it's not right for them to hang on to their home, find solutions to be able to generate more income or reduce your expenses, and let's wait and see. And if you're right now living in one of those tents in the guy's one bedroom apartment because he's already rented out half of his bed, and now he's renting out the living room to you and your girlfriend living in a tent, and you don't want to pay rent because $3,000 a month rent for your own place doesn't make sense for you to throw away 36 grand a year, then yes, it's a good time to buy, because right now you can go out there and negotiate, and you can find the right property, and you can get a home inspection, and you can have your financing condition, and you can negotiate, and you can do all these things. And there's nobody after 30 years who own their home who ever look back and say, you know what, I wish I paid 10% less back in 1992 for this house. I would have had a much better life. There's nobody I've ever had that conversation with, even the people who bought at the peak in 1989. So once you
We
buy your
bought,
home and you live there for 30 years, whether you pay right now 700, 900, 1.2 million, it might go down a little bit, it might go up a little bit, but 30 years later, it'll be a distant memory you won't even know. And so you're sacrificing your life because you watched our YouTube channel today and we told you to, hang on to your hat here and sleep in that tent for an extra couple of years. I don't know. To me, that's not a good life, but everyone
do
gets to
you
choose their
remember
life.
back in 2023, we made it through that storm by first renting out the basement? And after that didn't really help. Do you remember we split up the main house into 4 illegal units? That was pretty fun. We just kept one of the units for ourselves. But that didn't even do it. So remember when we took out that loan to build that laneway suite in the back for $500,000 that, we figured we would rent out for $8,000 a month? Well, that wasn't the best decision either. But
It wasn't a good
thank
decision.
God we watched the Canadian real estate show and we weathered the storm because
Got ourselves some tents.
now that we have, the pop-up tent field in the backyard and the laneway suite, and we've rented the garage of the laneway suite, and all of that barely got us by. We are now breaking even on the sale price of our house
But
in
I'm working
2032.
I'm working 3 jobs, and I've even got solar panels on my roof.
Right?
Which, by the way, I had to steal from a farmer in his field. But regardless,
That's a whole other
listen,
story, right?
I'm so like dead serious. That's what I'm talking about, Darryl.
Right?
Yes, that's the advice that I'm giving. I know. But listen, it may not be realistic or like it doesn't make sense. It's not what I would want. But I know personally I cannot change anything about the government or the policies of the market. Like I'm 100% sure me talking on this show will change nothing. So the only thing that I
Hey,
can do is like in my life, at my house, what can I do to change my surroundings in order to survive the next 10 years? These are the things that I would do. You don't like it, don't do them. I really
but TK, guess what? Like, did you
yeah.
hear?
What?
They just opened up 50 tiny homes in Peterborough. Like,
You know what? Okay, last thought because actually we have to end now. But
we have to
last
end
thought I
right
thought
now.
about was about your Curacao thing. Was this is what everyone should do? We talked about this before. This is super Jetsons. Okay, you got this
Check.
little tiny home. It's your home. All right, it's your box that you live in. It's got everything you need, and it's like a Lego where everything just gets placed everywhere else. You got jets on it because who doesn't like jets? So we can jet it
Jets.
around. You can put
Ship
yourself in
it.
a building. You can rent. I want to be on the 6th floor, so that's my real estate,
Hovering
right? My
homes. Yeah.
place is there. Maybe I'm just going to rent like a land lease where I'll, have it there. Maybe I'm going to go to Curacao and I'm going to ship it down there for a week and I'm going to be on the beach. I'm just saying that's where I think the world is going. Thanks for tuning
I
in,
think
guys, to the
that's where
live
things
show.
are
If
heading
you
for
like,
sure.
what we're doing and you like the live shows, we'll try to do it again. I know there was no skit or anything else that was cool. Check out
Nothing cool.
jointeamleo.com. Check out our channel, like, subscribe, comment. We've got a charity that we're supporting. We'll post
Lips.
in the comments. It's called Emily's House
Next week.
Children's Hospice.
Not this week.
We'll post it eventually on one of the videos. You can go and just look up Frank Leo on getleo.com. We've got a link for Emily's House. It's a children's hospice, so you can imagine what that place is like. It's something we support every year. We've raised a lot of money for them, so if you guys can go check that out, I really appreciate it. But let us know what you thought about the live video today, and we'll definitely do it again in the future, unless you guys hated it, and then we'll never do it again. But I don't know if we'll listen or not.
We probably will do it again. TK,
Daryl,
thank
good
you
job.
so much for joining us today. Everybody else, all 150
everyone
of
else
you,
for
that's
joining
pretty
us.
cool. Thank you,
That was pretty
everybody
cool.
else.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know how to end this. I think I pressed this
I'm
little
gonna hit
X
the
button
X.
in the corner.
All right. Love you guys. See you next week.
Oh, bye.